games, Brains A Banging Life filled with 10 things we love about Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2. Both games combined, as we said we would do when we did the Sonic Retro games. So yes, it's 10 things I love, 10 things you love about those two games. Both well known for being in the Dreamcast, even though you can now get them if you want on like modern consoles. It's the Dreamcast we kind of remember it for. Weirdly enough, I always remember the first one more than I do the second one.
Yeah, definitely.
It's definitely the one I played more.
Yeah.
You know? But we shall see what we came up with. This was not easy. We'll give it a shot and I'll get us going. Yeah, my first one. And it's really, really simple. And it applies more to Sonic Adventure than Sonic Adventure 2. Because by then the novelty had worn off. Sonic Adventure. 3D. You know, you got to sort of think about it. Up to that point, we didn't have an officially licensed Sonic game in the Sega Saturn. So we never saw Sonic in properly a 3D game. You know, that was part of the storyline world that they built. So, you know, you're talking about we went from effectively the Mega Drive, the the Genesis, the 32X, if you count that, and then obviously never really had one on the Saturn, and then we ended up with the Dreamcast one, Sonic Adventure. So 3D Sonic, you know, that was spectacular at the time. Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly, yeah. Like I said, was very difficult to do.
Yeah.
I've got for my phone. It's Sonic.
Yeah.
You know, it's another Sonic game. You know, maybe not one of the best, but it's another Sonic game at the end of the day.
I think hindsight's a big thing here, and time, and it's kind of like you look a bit more negatively at it now because obviously it's a 20-plus-year-old game.
Yeah.
You know, so you can kind of be a bit like, oh, well, it's not so good now, but at the time we were blown away by it.
Of course, yeah.
Which in turn I'm going to tie into my next one then. When the Dreamcast itself, kind of the console was announced, it's going to be 128 bits. Back when we all gave a shit about bits and crap like that.
Yep.
128, oh my god, that's amazing. Never seen anything like about it. And then Sonic Adventure is one of the games, the debut game, you kind of play on it. It felt like a great showcase of it, you know? Like, wow, look at the power of the Dreamcast and all that. You know, of course we would get games later that would showcase that power better, like Shenmue and Headhunter and stuff like that. But at the time, you know, the early start of, wow, look at what Sega's new console can do. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a shock that the console failed miserably.
Well, you know, it was before its time, arguably,
course,
with the internet thing,
course.
you know?
My second one's going to be, it's the music. You know, it's a typical Sonic game. It's got beautiful music.
Okay.
And, every Sonic game always has, you know.
I don't know if I agree with you in this one. I have music, but it's on my other list. And it's not on my love list. But I'll get to that in the other video. The opening level of Sonic Adventure, in particular the Well segment, you know, talk about showcase what the Dreamcast could do. They made sure when it came to Sonic Adventure, we're like, let's make sure we deliver in the very first thing you experience.
Yeah,
you know, it's a very Sonic level, beach, you know, colourful, that kind of thing. And it's fast. It's designed to be a fast level. With the odd slow segment, I guess, just to get you acclimatized to it. You know, but then you hit that fast-paced well section and it's graphically cool. And fuck, it's a great opening level. Yeah.
Yeah, I sort of had that one too. So I've got background now. The whole background of the level is now is very detailed. It's you know, and it's good background. You know, as good for the levels, you can see obviously the upgrading in graphics and stuff.
Yeah, quite a lot of distance in certain things. You know, I always kind of picture Knuckles as island and it being quite like distant and stuff like that. Okay, continue then into the same thing, but the opening level of Sonic Adventure 2. They did exactly the same thing, and it went, okay, we want to start you off hot and fast in this, and obviously it's basically down the hills of a city, and you obviously get that truck chase segment and stuff like that. It's another high-powered, energetic start. The first, weirdly enough, the opening levels of both Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2 are arguably the best the game has to offer.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I've got some of the bosses. I think the bosses over 1 and 2 Sonic Adventures, they're a major improvement from the original Sonics. Obviously, you'd expect that as the games go along, but yeah, they're a lot better.
Yeah, I think there's some interesting boss battles. Not even necessarily with like the major villain like Chaos from the first game and or Shadow from the second, but even some of the Robotnik battles, require a little bit more strategy almost. I'd say. Yeah. And tying into that, then. A lot of that enjoyment, I think, comes from the new element they introduced in Sonic Adventure that they now have made a standard of all Sonic games, including any ones that are still 2D. And it was introduced in Sonic Adventure, and it was the homing ability.
Yep.
Now, obviously, with Sonic able to just run around really fast, you needed something that could make standard jumping on bad guys was going to be very, very difficult in a 3D environment.
Yeah.
So you jump and you press the button again, and if they were within range, Sonic would home into them. And you could do that across several different enemies. It's quite fluid.
Yeah,
it was a good element to introduce.
Yeah, it's different. I've got down some of the new characters.
Okay, yep.
Obviously they introduced a lot of new characters, and again, this is also in my bad list, but some were good, some were,
I agree, yep, absolutely. And I'll tie into that as well with Sonic Adventure 2. And talking about new characters, obviously that introduced Shadow the Hedgehog, and you had this Hero Dark campaign split where you could do both campaigns and eventually it would match up near the end. A nice touch. Taking what they kind of did in Sonic Adventure where you had the different campaigns, but simplifying it and making it more meaningful to the overall story instead of just, here's a rubbish character and he ended up running into Sonic further down the line. Yeah. I'm thinking about you, Big the Cat,
I've got down here Speed. It's a very fast game. Obviously all Sonics are the fast games, obviously, because you obviously spin. But in the original ones, you take your time and enjoy the levels.
Yep.
This is just like it's really really fast. It can be enjoyable, but again, I've also got this in my dislikes.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it one of the important aspects, obviously, when it came to doing 3D Sonic, and imagine it wasn't fun to try and design, which was like, he has to be fast.
Yeah.
He has to be fast, but like, we've rocked to make it as well, so there's a challenge and there's gameplay elements and all that, and it's suddenly, I imagine it was not fun at all.
No.
So it's surprising it probably turned out as good as it did.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Sonic Adventure, Chaos as a villain. I think Chaos is a great villain. I particularly like it when you kind of get to the furthest part of it when you fight Perfect Chaos and it's Super Sonic and all that. I think it's an interesting villain to add to the sort of mix of it. Yeah,
definitely. I've got the different varieties of levels.
Yep.
Overall, over both games, the levels are really different. Obviously for the original Sonic, obviously you had like Zone 1, Zone 2, and Zone 3, and that sort of stuff. But I think the levels are, you go from like beaches to metal. It's good. It's good environment.
Yeah, I think they stuck to the traditional Sonic idea where you'd go through the zones and every zone would be different.
Yeah.
Where obviously they also want... It's weird because clearly they wanted to ground Sonic for the first time in a real world. A world that actually existed, which was you'd never kind of seen before.
No.
Cities and people and stuff like that. But you also wanted to do that thing where it's like, well, here's some unique levels and here's some unique areas. And I think they got it to a good degree.
Yeah,
Maybe better with the second one, I think, than the first.
Yeah, definitely.
So, Sonic Adventure, I always preferred, right? It's weird considering a lot of those auxiliary characters are rubbish. But I actually always liked doing the Knuckles segments, Knuckles part of the game. Because Knuckles was slower, designed to be, and his sort of missions was always about finding pieces of the emeralds where you'd home in them and all that. But the way he moved and the way he could climb allowed a bit more free roaming. So you got to explore a level perhaps in a different way than others. I always like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I've sort of I've got down the movement of different characters. Now, obviously, each character's got their own abilities, their own skills. Obviously Sonic Speed, Knuckles is slow and climbing and stuff like. Big the Cat is rubbish.
Tails flies. Amy runs.
Yeah, runs with a pink
big
hammer and stuff
fishes, and Gamma just does
Yeah.
stuff. I don't know. Yeah, it's not great.
No.
As I've mentioned them, right? Of all those extra characters, not ignoring our main cast, so not ignore Knuckles, ignore Amy, ignore Tails, and ignore Sonic. We had the two extras, which was Big the Cat and Gamma, which is the sentient robot that wants to be good. Basically, Johnny Five from Short Circuit, if you know those movies. Big with the cat, he's terrible. I'm sure he's on your other list as he is on mine.
Yeah.
But Gamma actually wasn't a bad inclusion, I actually think. There was some fun with that. It was an interesting idea. And his abilities, like the homing rockets and all that, were kind of cool. I don't mind Gamma.
Yeah, no, again, I agree. You know, he was probably the least worst character
Out of them, yeah.
This has probably been addressed too before, but obviously it's like all Sonics. It's a very colourful game.
Yep.
You know, it attracts any kid we put it on. You know. So,
Oh, absolutely. You load it up, you get that bright colours, blue Sonic. You get lots of prettiness from that. Absolutely. Oh, one more.
Yes, I will.
Okay, my last one is simple. While I never really did it, I don't think it's necessarily a bad inclusion. But unfortunately, it came too late for the Tamagotchi craze. But the virtual pet Cheo thing. So obviously you had the Cheo Garden that you could visit, but also your VMU, which is the part of the Dreamcast controller that went in. Don't get me started about what the fuck they were even thinking with that thing. But yeah, you know, it was a virtual pet on that where you could take care of it. A very basic Tamagotchi, basically. And I think had that been years before, during the Tamagotchi craze, so what was that, mid-90s, 96, 97, it would have been loved. But by the time Tamagotchis had fallen out of favour,
pretty much,
you know, so it wasn't that cool. But it was just a little extra thing, you know.
Yeah,
I won't lie, I visited my Cheo Garden, you know.
I think everyone did.
Yeah.
And mine's the ending. You know, at the ending of the first one.
Yeah.
The second one ending was disappointing, but I think that the final boss battle was pretty interesting. Yeah.
Yep.
So
as we said, Chaos himself is a good villain.
exactly. Yeah.
There you go. There's 10 things we love about Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2. Make sure you check back for 10 things we hate and let us know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and Tumblr. Go to Patreon and help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?